How to sell without selling using subtle video marketing.
Let's get into it.
Video Mavericks, the small business video marketing podcast. Presented by Workshop Media. With your hosts, Brett and Jeff, sharing a combined 40 years of video production and marketing experience. Take it away.
All right, so if you ever feel like your videos are too salesy, you're pushing people away because you're constantly trying to get them to understand what you're selling, you're not drawing them in, right? The secret is to soft sell. It's to utilize storytelling and not be so aggressive pushing on your solution without understanding what their pain points are, what their desires are, right? So today what we're going to go over is using video marketing in a way that builds trust and nurtures your audience, right? And naturally leads to conversions instead of trying to be pushy all the time with your sales process.
Yeah, nobody wants to be actively sold to on a regular basis. And
it feels icky, right?
Yeah. And in a lot of cases where the content is that we're creating for platforms, people aren't on those platforms to be sold to. They're not there expecting to be sold to. So it's really important that you're being subtle or at least being tactful. There are some times when a direct sale makes all the sense in the world.
Yep, at the right time. It's usually going to be at some point where that's okay. As a consumer, I've let you in. You can now kind of, you could get me to the point where I'm going to now have acquired the thing that's going to solve my problem. But So what is subtle video marketing or a soft sell in videos?
Yeah. So instead of going, hey, I make coffee, buy my coffee, you might say, hey, here are some tips for making great coffee at home. Mm-hmm. And so the idea there, the big picture is that we're providing some level of value that is in support of the sales process, but is not a direct hard sale.
Yeah, you're building up that trust by being an authority, by providing value, educate and inspire them without saying, our coffee is now $9.99, buy it today. We have all this other stuff we can offer you so you'll know us and like us and trust us. Mm-hmm. And the sale should happen organically. It should just naturally become a thing because you provided value and you identified that customer's pain points.
Or the sale happens at the call to action portion of the content and not throughout the entire piece of content. So a 60-second video, maybe you're selling for 15 seconds, 10 seconds. Yeah. You're not selling for 55 seconds. And there are cases where that makes sense, but in this particular case, what we're talking about is those subtle approaches.
So what are some types of content that will kind of support that? What are types of video content that would be helpful?
So educational content's a really good one. If you're, depending on what your industry is, what your vertical is, teaching people something that you're an expert in that may be useful to them is a great way to soft sell. Yeah. Back to the coffee example. If you're teaching someone how to make the perfect espresso shot, they're going to see you as, an authority, as an expert in your field. Yeah. And, when they come to the point of wanting to make a purchase, you'll be there for them. So educational content is a great one.
Yep. How about your brand story, your origin, just some storytelling, some narrative that might kind of let them into your world and show who you are a little bit. That story-driven content is really strong.
That kind of falls into the entertainment kind of thought process. You're entertaining folks with something that is going to be interesting, totally separate from the product that you're selling because you're doing it in a really interesting, creative way. So,
and with our work, the brand video is like the softest sell.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's a little, sometimes we'll put a CTA in there, not usually, but a lot of times we do. And it is very, just kind of awareness driven. It's very, let's get to that point. We don't want to scare you away with the sales portion. We just want you to, let's tell some stories. Let's get you comfortable with us to want to know more, to want to take that next step naturally,
Yep.
So what about any others? Any kind of authentic
Yeah,
content?
so in any of those sort of behind the scenes, peeking behind the curtain of an operation is a really nice way to subtly sell. You might, in the coffee example, you might show how we're making the espresso. Mm-hmm. Look how great this looks. Look how, delicious this coffee looks.
You
And
see it all the time too, where they say like, we're using our espresso blend to do blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to, but
Right.
in the making of this behind the scenes, yes, let's go ahead and grab our Sumatra here and we're going to,
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of it's a soft sell in that you get to see their product in action, but they're not going, buy this in large and small at your local.
it's not QVC. We're not doing,
right.
maybe I may have dated myself a little bit. QVC was a big deal. I mean, it's still
It's
around,
still-
but
yeah,
it
it's
was a
still-
really big deal pre-internet for selling, but those were
as seen on TV, right?
those are direct hard sells. That's not what this is.
Yep. So what you mentioned behind the scenes, that's another way which we kind of talk about a lot to humanize
Yep.
your business, to kind of let people in. They'll start feeling a little bit more inclined to spend with you once you build that foundation of trust and you kind of take care of them as a consumer of your business potentially, right?
Yeah.
The sale is going to be so much easier down the line if you just take care of a couple foundational steps first,
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that it might feel like if I have an hour to spend or if I have $1 to spend on video marketing, I want to use it to sell my product. So it may take a little bit of like, just trust us in this particular case.
Yeah.
You may want to sell X product for Y dollars.
It'll be a lot easier doing that.
Relax
if you
just a little bit. Trust
Yeah.
that it doesn't need to be, you don't need to come out of the gate swinging with buy, unless your audience already knows everything there is to know about you. They already trust you. They already love everything you're doing.
Which means there was some sort of thing that you've already done.
Something already happened in that case.
That's right.
So, be open to a soft sell and sort of a slow burn approach to your marketing effort, knowing that in the long run, it is going to be better for building a base that you can grow off of in the future.
Yeah, a little appetizer before the main course,
Yep.
right? Just build on that. They came to buy the steak anyway, right? So you go like, well, what can I get you first while let's get the drinks going. Let's get some stuff before, that's just, making the experience. If this, is, we're trying to liken it to that, it is to the experience, the overall experience in the sales process with your business is important, right? So that kind of leading up to the main event, which is the sale, you have other things you want to do. So they leave you that 5-star review at the restaurant, right?
Right.
Kind of a roundabout way of getting there, but that's the purpose. If I'm going to go buy a steak dinner and take my wife out, let's go get the steak, let's get out of there. You want the whole experience. So the whole experience for your business would be building that foundation and them trusting you and liking you and wanting to be a loyal fan of your business, right?
And that's a great segue into just talking about why does it work and sort of, I think we've touched on it in a couple of different ways so far, but one of the big things is where you're looking to build a customer that's going to stick around. So you might be able to sell one product with a hard sell video because you happen to come across someone who is already in a position to make that purchase. And you just happen to hit them at the right time that they were going to buy anyway and you were right in front of them. That can feel a little bit random. So
could have been one of those micro moments, right? Where they had already knew they had a need and they just,
But if we're talking about using this subtle approach, you're building a customer base that's going to be ready to buy anything from you, no matter what you sell, because there's a brand loyalty that's being built here. So, and they're being given the opportunity to learn and kind of discover what you do on their own. It's their idea to make the purchase if you're doing this right.
Yep.
Which is, a markedly different approach than hard selling.
Yeah, and thinking about where you place this content too. You'd mentioned this a little bit at the start of this conversation. Ads work because you're putting money behind them, but that organic reach, that quality content, the engagement on these platforms, you can have more engagement theoretically with quality, authentic content that is not a direct sell than otherwise, right? So, thinking about where this content lives is also, and where it's being consumed is really important as well,
Absolutely.
So how to use subtle selling strategies in your video marketing? How are we going to do it in an effective way that makes you feel good about taking this approach and not just trying to sell?
Well, think about the value that you're providing to your customer, to your viewer. If you're leading with value, you're leading with how am I helping them? What am I doing to be useful to them? You're already off to a really great start.
And if you consider yourself an authority in the space, whether you are or you aren't, place yourself in the position of what you want to be, teach them, inspire them, educate them, entertain them, do these things. And none of that, I said, had anything to do with selling, right?
Right.
Selling will happen. That's like sort of the byproduct, or like you had mentioned, it's the right time that, the call to action portion of it, the right time the sale can happen. But how to do it is leading with value. It's presenting the information, is showcasing value, making their world a better place, right?
Yep.
And I mean, that's all. And ultimately, using storytelling to do it is always going to be where we come from, because it's.
Yeah. And when we say use storytelling, that can take on a lot of different forms, but ultimately it's just sort of, we've talked about this in previous episodes, understanding what your brand story is and wrapping everything up in this, this greater approach to how you talk about what you offer, how you talk about your customer, and how you're meeting the moment that they need you to meet for them, and with the service that you provide. And so storytelling is just, let's provide some context to everything that you're doing that's in a greater narrative. It doesn't have to be, we're not talking about having to make a blockbuster film in terms of storytelling or write a novel, but everything should be purposeful, and it should come from a baseline of understanding what your brand is and how you want it to be perceived by your customers.
Yeah, and the way you present it, right? It could be very, very simple. It's your presentation of that information and what you want that target audience, that consumer, to come away with. How you want them to feel after the fact. Yep. That's all the storytelling is. It's figuring out the way to present that value.
Yeah. And so when you get to the point of an actual call to action, consider just subtle language changes that soften that a little bit. If this was helpful to you, or if you like this espresso, you might like to try our blend. So it's not, all right, now that we're done, head over to our website and buy right now.
Buy now.
It's, you're connecting the feels to the purchase process. So
and sometimes that works though, right? So those hard sells do work, but we're saying it comes later. It has to come later, whether in one piece of content or down the line, once you have a journey with this buyer that they're on, right?
Yep.
We're not saying it's one or the other. It's just do this first. Do this first. Yeah. So, and then don't forget about focusing on the engagement, right? So that's always going to be what we say as it pertains to online video marketing. Put the content out. It doesn't stop there. Keep going. Keep the, if you want them to know you, like you, and trust you. Can't harp on that enough. So the engagement matters.
Engagement's part of the storytelling. Your customer is part of your brand story, and so engagement is a part of that storytelling. And so continue that conversation in how you're speaking with and asking for your customers to engage with you.
And put that content everywhere. Repurpose it. Keep flooding the system, right? That's our philosophies. One video does not rule them all. If it's one video that you have, get it in different channels, get it in different platforms, so you can continue to subtly sell your customer.
Yep, that's it.
So that's it, man. The power of subtle video marketing, the soft sell.
Yeah, just take it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Stop trying to sell right out of the gate, and consider easing your customer into an experience with your brand. And I think you'll see that they tend to stick around, and they tend to connect with your brand on a deeper level for a longer period of time.
So if you have a marketing strategy, if you're using video, just take a look at it. Are you focusing too much on pushing people to spend money with you? Or, what's going on, what's working, what's not working? And, maybe start to shift a little bit to this subtle approach, and thinking about providing value first, understanding their pain points and what your solution is to make their world a better place. And see how your audience responds.
There it is.
So don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on YouTube. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We're dropping episodes weekly for small business owners like yourselves to grow and scale your businesses using video marketing.